If you want to play retro games, you're gonna need a retro computer. And while you're at it, why not make it Vaporwave, right here on 3D PC. Why Vaporwave, I hear you ask? Well, why not? I am going through a bit of a Vaporwave phase, to be honest, but also no offense, I have not seen a truly Vaporwave PC, despite even my best efforts over here. Looking for just aesthetics, Google image results have a ton of Vaporwave PCs, which are just your average, top-of-the-line, water-cooled PC, but the fans are orange and purple. Wanting to tackle this public crisis of no Vaporwave PCs, I set to do the world a favor. I started with modding my own main workstation over here, even 3D printing some purple parts and going so far as to Arduino program a custom RGB controller, but when it comes down to it, a big black rectangle is not a very Vaporwave case. To me, the idea of Vaporwave is more than just painting something purple and orange. There needs to be something sci-fi about it. The lighting needs to be linear, not circular. Also, in these images, not to go full English teacher on ya, but the machines that these protagonists are likely using are ones that were highly customized, if not scratch-built. Think along the lines of the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, or if the original Fast and Furious movie was made in the 80s but set in the future, possibly in space. You build the machine with what you have. Your tweaks and your customization are what make the machine good, not just by shopping price high to low. No offense, RTX 2080 Ti owners. The RX Vega 56 inside of this workstation is pretty close to Vaporwave, I think, in terms of a modern GPU at least. You make it much better by BIOS flashing it, tweaking voltages, and so on. It becomes good because you made it good, not because it shipped from the factory that way. As much as I wanted to build the Vaporwave PC to play Cyberpunk 2077 whenever that comes out, I couldn't find a good CPU to go with the RX Vega card. The FX 9590 kind of comes to mind because it was sort of a brute force approach to making a faster processor, and I kind of like that way of thinking. But I very much doubt the FX 9590 would have a chance at playing Cyberpunk smoothly. Ryzen was a bit of a cool stick-it-to-the-man kind of a moment, but you can't really overclock or customize it. There's not much that you can do to it to make it unique, unless you're Kingpin and you have the RoboClocker. So because I couldn't find a Vaporwave CPU or a Vaporwave ATX case, that's right, this is non-ATX. Out in my garage, I do have some 1980s cases, actually from 1980. They're just not very Vaporwavy. They're more cassette futurism. But then I remembered this Dell XPS 710 tower, and it really nailed a lot of those Vaporwave checkboxes. We have a curved edge kind of a case, a lot like the shape of this orange spaceship in a way, and we've got the horizontal grille that originally came with it, not this one I 3D printed for it, that kind of nailed the taillights on this car. The inside of the case even had a lot of what I was looking for also. The 1000-watt power supply is powerful, and because it's so old, it could go up in flames any second. Not looking forward to that. The motherboard is a BTX layout, and it takes both a 20 and a 24 pin for motherboard power. Not something you see every day. It originally came with SLI GTX 560 Ti's, but the four 1GB DDR2 sticks even have their own copper heat pipes on them, which is just awesome. And the CPU is the Core 2 Quad 6600. Not long before the Q6600, AMD had just rolled out dual-core CPUs, and the Q6600 is part of what was pulling Intel back into the lead ahead of AMD. I like that the heart of this build has some history to it. It was kind of the first to do something, and it was part of the last great CPU war. Bringing this old school brute force way of speccing out computer parts to the video cards, we have four-way crossfire thanks to the Radeon HD 5970. It's not elegant, It's not necessarily optimal, but it gets the job done. If you're counting cards and wondering how I'm counting double, the Radeon HD 5970 is 2 GPUs per card. The 725 MHz base clock is low. You can easily overclock it, especially if you raise that power limit. And unlike Nvidia cards the last few generations, we have voltage control. This case even has the big loud fan that you heard in the beginning that feeds air from this lower grill directly into the intakes of those blower style cards. Now that the components are out of the way, let's talk aesthetics. Amazon had plenty of automotive wraps for this case, but you can't really tell from the pictures on Amazon what shade or reflectivity level you're going to get from this. So I poured over hundreds of photo reviews and ultimately ended up with this kind of metallic flake but still matte purple. Now, the wrap quality on this is nowhere near where I would like it to be. This is my first time wrapping a computer case, and from back there, and thanks to YouTube's 4K compression, it looks good. Not in person. I loved the XPS lettering that came on the case originally, but I really wanted to turn that into more of a feature rather than just a little thing in the corner, so I 3D printed this XPS logo. And I did test quite a few samples. I thought of doing chrome at one point, that was a close second, but I think the orange is more vaporwave in this regard. As for the red grills that originally came on this case, these are not the original grills. I had to pry them off because several hours would not get them off of prying, so 3D printed my own. This outer ring is just natural PLA, and then on the inside, I don't remember what the original color was, but I just spray painted it chrome, and that seemed to work pretty well. The side that's facing out was printed on glass, which is why it has such a flat, smooth finish. That also helps with transparency of seeing the LED strip that's embedded in this to the front. The inside of this case has 4 1-foot purple LED strips, with the goal being to absolutely flood the case with light. Mission accomplished. With the front grille removed and my 3D printed version offering less restriction, you can see the purple light through the front. The orange LED rings around the 2 front grills aren't nearly as bright as I would have hoped looking dead on, but I'm still happy with how it turned out, and I love the orange glow around the silver area. Now, there is no way this is going to play modern games at all. Check out this really old video comparing a 2GB GPU to this exact same 4-way Crossfire setup. They're only 1GB per GPU cards. But for retro gaming, it's perfect. And I've got a montage to show you. However, I could not use my Elgato capture card to capture the footage off of this machine, because my Elgato HD60S does not like to capture super low resolutions that a lot of these old games that, you know, have a Pentium 2 or 3 in the system requirements, it just doesn't capture that. So I did have to point my phone at a monitor and record that way. But bad reflectivity aside, I'd like to show you some gameplay that was made possible not because of a sponsor, but because of this vaporwave beast right here.